Church elder, entrepreneur, patriarch of Tibbetts Enterprises at Cotton Tree Bay, pillar of Sister Island social and business development, a storyteller, black historian, D. Bernard Tibbetts, Mr. Bernard, this man of Caymanite resolve, this giant now rests. Our heartfelt condolences to Miss Vernice, James, Jonathan, Paul, Matthew, the Tibbetts family, and our Sister Islands community. Mr. Bernard, you have left this path much better than you found it. Rest in peace.
Radio Cayman's Historical Vignettes was brought to you by Rotary Central. For more than 110 years, Rotary members have used their passion, energy, and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects.
Radio Cayman,
the voice,
the heart, the soul of the Cayman Islands.
Oh, I think they're doing a great job. A lot of them are.
Good afternoon, Dwayne. How are you?
Not too bad, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today with Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
But I do have some questions.
There are more questions than answers.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. If you're ready to talk, we're willing to listen.
Well, I really enjoy this program today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
May God bless every person.
Hey, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. It is truly a pleasure to once again sit here on this magnificent Monday to invite you to celebrate with us as we join the good folks from Lands and Survey. And then 1 o'clock after headlines, Regen. Not a Regen. We'll tell you about that. But stay tuned for Talk Today.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. And Cayman Airways. Call them on 949-2311 to book your nonstop flights to Los Angeles and Panama. And Digicel, Cayman's bigger, better network.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today, the Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program. We ask our listeners to avoid statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use any indecent language or make any statement which is false or misleading. Email talktoday@candw.ky or call 1-800-534-8255.
Courtesy of Flow,
Cayman's #1 network that connects you to your world like never before.
Let your voice be heard. Once again, here's your host, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome. Thanks for joining us. And anyone or any entity that can celebrate 50 years is a significant milestone. And as we join with our friends at Lands and Survey, 50 years, a very significant number, but a very important entity within the government service. Mr. Uche, good afternoon to you, sir.
Good afternoon, Mr. Sterling. How are you?
I am very thankful, It's been an interesting ride these last 3 years. Sorry. I mix it up sometimes. But that's what gets us through, a bit of laughter and a celebration. Yeah. Time to be. So I know you shared with us that you'll be happy to introduce your colleagues.
Yes.
And put them at ease. To our listeners, just a bit of information about Lands and Survey. We won't take any calls just yet, which should work nicely for most of our phone traffic because they're not working anyway. But that's good. One has to laugh because if not, one would not enjoy life to the fullest.
Yeah.
So welcome again.
Thank you very much.
All right. In addition to introducing your colleagues, maybe introduce yourself as well.
I'll start from
yes. Do that.
Thanks, Sterling. My name is Uche Obi, and I am the Director of Lands and Survey. Lands and Survey, as everyone knows, is responsible for the registration of land transfers and any real estate matters on behalf of the government. With me is Sophia Williams. I'll pass the mic on to Sophia Williams for her to introduce herself, and then the next guest after she's finished. So, Sophia.
Hi, good afternoon. Sophia Williams, Register of Lands.
with the Lands and Survey Department. As Uchi says, I have responsibility for registering transfers, mortgages, when persons want to check the register if you're purchasing property and you want to see who the owner is or if there are issues. For example, you want to see what amenities the property have, like rights of ways, etc. Then you would be coming and you'd be dealing with the registry team.
Yeah. And we brought along Ruth Watson. Ruth Watson is the Chief Valuation Officer. And I'll pass the mic on to Ruth to introduce herself.
Hello, afternoon, everybody. My name is Ruth Watson, and I'm the Chief Valuation Officer in the Lands and Survey Department. I'm in charge of the Valuation and Estates section. Our responsibility is the collection of stamp duty, the management of the Crown Estate, which involves a whole wide variety of things, including acquisitions and disposals, leasing and letting, valuation, and road compensation work as well.
In for local parlance, the Crown Estate would be what we would call government property?
Yes,
just
government assets. Yeah,
Okay.
government-owned property.
And I think sometimes some of us will think lands and survey and planning and somehow mix the two up. Two very separate and distinct entities with two very distinct functions.
Yes.
So, Madam Registrar?
We get that quite a lot. One person's dealing with land, if they're having building issues, we do get a lot of persons who sometimes think the Department of Planning and the Lands and Survey section is the same, but they're two distinct properties. The Department of Planning is responsible for, among other things, for example, building approval and subdivisions approval. The Lands and Survey Department is made up of different sections. So we have land registry that we spoke of earlier in terms of like if you're buying and selling property. We have the Survey Department that is responsible for the registration of surveys to ensure your boundary registration. Ruth spoke about the valuation section. We also have the Geographic Information System, which is responsible for the mapping of for the department as well.
Yeah, that's so true. I've got people asking me planning questions. I'm like, I don't know anything about planning. So it's nice for the clarification. We are not the planning department. We're Lands and Survey. And as Sophia mentioned, we consist of five sections, and we're all interrelated. And the main goal is management of land within the Cayman Islands.
So, Ms. Watson, from that perspective, as the valuations go, we've seen in the Cayman, is it understanding that if a property is presented for transfer and, the individual say I've paid $100,000 for it, you assess it and it's 110, 150, it is your office's assessment that stamp duty will be calculated on?
Yes, that's correct. So under the stamp duty law, the duty is payable on the greater of either the consideration paid or the market value. So every single transaction comes through our office, and we assess every single transaction to ensure that the consideration paid for the property reflects market value. We do a valuation of every single sale, and if we are of the opinion that it has sold below market value, we would issue a reassessment notice and inform the purchaser of our opinion of market value, and we would request duty on that amount.
Okay. Even, and this is not to imply that the parties are not being ethical and honest, but it just, what if in that instance, not to belabor it, but there was a recent quantity surveyor's valuation report that says this property is X. You assessed it with your office's expertise and said, no, it's X plus. What then?
So sometimes what happens is we'll send out our assessment notice, and that's based on other sales that have happened in the area or in a similar complex. If it does become apparent that there is a valuation report, the purchasers may often send that to us. We would then review it and see if we agree with that report or if it alters our opinion. If we believe the report is correct, then we may agree with that report and reassess to that level. However, we don't have to. We make our own informed opinion of value.
Yeah. And this is where you utilize an independent third party. In this case, this would be a private sector, the quantity surveyor. Presumably, that individual would have access to your system in order to derive that report looking at recent sales.
Yeah, they would have done. They may have used different comparable evidence to us, or their report may have been dated either prior to the sale or there's various factors that we have to take into consideration. So we would thoroughly review the report and see what the differences are and why there are any differences, and then come to our own opinion of value.
Now, before we take this first break, if I may ask, just watching one more question.
Mm-hmm.
What are the different types of agreements that would attract stamp duty? So lease versus a tenancy agreement.
Yeah, so the main different types of transactions that attract stamp duty are a sale of a property, which would be a transfer of land. That's where you go out and acquire a property in full, and then it's transferred and the ownership is changed. The other one would be a lease of a property. And under the stamp duty law, any lease is applicable for stamp duty. So whether that's, a commercial lease, a residential lease, or whatever the lease may be. And then you also have to pay stamp duty on some other documents, such as a purchase agreement. There's different levels of stamp duty that are payable on that. You can opt to pay the full duty on that or $100. And then you also have to pay duty on charges. Mm-hmm. So when you're borrowing money, there is a duty payable on a charge as well. Mm-hmm. They're really the main documents that we charge stamp duty on.
And then that $100 versus the full amount on a purchase agreement. What distinguishes whether you paid $100 versus the other sum?
So the law gives the purchaser the option to choose. Mm-hmm. Some people choose to prepay their stamp duty on a contract or a purchase agreement because they may not close on the property for a number of months or even a number of years down the line, and it therefore offers them the opportunity to prepay, so they've paid that duty and they know that they've made that payment, and it may help them with affordability going forward when they actually come to close on the property.
And obviously, a year later of closing, the property would have increased in value. They bought it for X sum, and then this is where understanding perhaps the information sessions that the survey offered can give us a perspective on that. And we can talk more about the difference between a tenancy agreement and a lease, if there's any difference in the Cayman context. Some people will, for instance, rent a place for a year. Does that attract stamp duty?
Yes, it does. Any lease that is entered into, whether technically it's a month or a year or 5 years, is subject to stamp duty. Yes.
All right. Let's pause. Let's learn more about the land survey, and let's hear about the celebrations that you have planned. I understand that there's a big parade, and we'll tell you all about it. Join us right after the break.
You know, as a little girl, I dreamt of traveling to faraway places and foreign lands. I tell you what though, no more dreaming. This summer, I'm going flying with Cayman Airways. How blessed are we in the Cayman Islands to have a very own national airline? Girl, you can fly to so many international destinations without the hassle of connecting flights. On top of Jamaica, Cuba, and Honduras, you got non-stop flights from Cayman to New York, Miami, Tampa, and even Denver, Los Angeles, and now Panama. Going to be a little cafe con leche and Hollywood Squares for this old gal this summer.
Make your travel dreams come true with Cayman Airways, offering non-stop flights for non-stop adventures in Panama, LA, and many more places in between. For details and to book, call 949-2311, contact a travel agent, or visit CaymanAirways.com.
How can you make a classic BLT sandwich even better? Well, by adding tuna. The land meets the sea in Subway's new sandwich, the Tuna BLT, available for a limited time. The Tuna BLT is exploding with flavor. Imagine crispy, juicy bacon strips on top of tuna, fresh lettuce, and slices of tomato, topped with your favorite sauce and choice of freshly baked bread. Enjoy the best of both worlds with the Tuna BLT from Subway. Subway, eat fresh.
Wouldn't it have been grand if you had purchased land 30 years ago? It may not be 2020, but a perfect vision has never been more clear. Cayman Brac and Little Cayman, poised for growth with an eye on the future. Your land, your history, your future. Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
Did you know that you can send money transfers to financial institutions anywhere in Jamaica with JN Money?
You mean I can send money straight to my account and cut out the middleman?
Yes, that's exactly what I mean. You send your own money to your own account, giving you peace of mind that the money is in your account.
JN Money Transfers to Financial Institution is another convenient service offered by JN Money. You can have this done from any JN Money location. Deposit your money straight to your account without the hassle of asking someone to do it for you. JN Money Transfers to Financial Institutions, making life easier.
Further to the passage of the Education Amendment Act 2022, schools must develop policies to prevent bullying and create a welcoming and safe learning atmosphere for students. If you have reason to believe that your child is being bullied by another member of the school community, encourage them to report it to an educator, allowing them to respond quickly to protect our children and ensure their well-being. Learn more at gov.ky/education.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, welcome back and thanks for joining us. And it's truly a pleasure to celebrate any significant milestone. And as a wonderful team at Lands and Survey, 50 years, it's great. So hopefully we can talk a little bit about that.
Yes.
Maybe as part of it, as we discuss future discussions on the show, get people to understand more about something we take for granted. It's so accessible.
Yeah.
The days of the Tower Building, to that fancy building next door. But Mr. Uche,
yes,
you take the floor.
Yeah.
All right.
We're celebrating our 50th anniversary, and really our 50th year of existence was last year, because we were set up in 1972. So, but because of COVID, we postponed the celebration to this year.
Can I do the same for my birthday?
Yeah, you can.
You know what?
Your real age and your official age, if you choose.
I identify as a 28-year-old.
Age is in the mind. So we've the main reason why we're celebrating is to say thank you to the members of the public for their support over the last 55 years, and acknowledge the staff who were instrumental to setting up the departments, because the department is built on a very, very strong foundation, and the department serves a very, very important role in the development of the Cayman Islands. So what we decided to do was to go around the districts and have town hall meetings with the public, tell them about the service that we provide and provide them with some of the services. We did that. We started in Cayman Brac, went to East End, then North Side, then came down to Savannah, Bordentown, and Georgetown and West Bay. And that was quite good because we got to meet with the public and we got to provide some services. The other thing that we did was rectification of stamp duty on the waiver of stamp duty on rectification. Sorry, that's about.
Say that again.
Waiver of registration fees.
Yeah, which was
for the layman. What that means is that you have a register. And sometimes your name might be wrong, the address might be wrong, the information, because you might have changed residence, or you might have changed jobs, and the PO box is wrong. So we said, you know what, we will give people the opportunity to change their details on the register and not charge them the stamp duty of $50. That was approved by Cabinet in May.
I'm just curious, and it's just as you shared. We see many, and the reason why I'm asking, we see many times people say, "I didn't get a notification for this thing." Well, because the address on file is an address you didn't change because you changed the address.
Yeah.
Have you done an analysis to know, since you offer that, it was extended to end of July, I think, right?
Yeah.
How many sort of rectifications did you do?
Quite significant. From May to July, we received 705 applications just from May to July, because that's the period for the waiver. For the previous January to April, we only received 166. So that was 3 times the number of rectifications that we would normally receive in that same period. Wow. And then compared to 2022, I think we only received maybe like 200 in the same period of 2022. So that has been a big difference, and it's good for us because we don't get into the argument with members of the public that they didn't get the notifications or anything like that. So we're quite delighted about the result from that.
And perhaps, as you celebrate your customer appreciation on Thursday, but it would seem to me from what you're sharing that we as a public will make sure we notify, the hospital or a bank or change your address, but our land isn't going anywhere. Sometimes we take for granted, if my address is there, it's there. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's not going to change.
Yeah.
but it could affect the person not knowing there's something in the area, which they could otherwise would be notified.
Exactly.
They don't know about it.
Yeah, the planning notices. You know, when planning sends notices,
this is really
they use the addresses from the database. Just for the record, from January to July 2022, we only received 201 rectifications. Compared to 703 for the same period in 2023. So it's definitely made a big difference.
Right. If it's okay for the general public, I think we don't fully understand sometimes the workings of our departments. And because many times it's there, it's efficient, it's accessible, we take it for granted.
Yeah.
You can come to Lands and Survey counter, ask a question about something, and generally they either say, no, that's for a planning issue, go next door, or they might say no, and they can direct you. It's there compared, as I understand, to other jurisdictions.
Yeah.
But what sorts of things would require rectification? Obviously, the address change.
Yes.
You were at P.O. Box X, now you're at P.O. Box Y. What else?
The names, but I'll pass it on to Miss Williams. She's in charge of the register, so she's better placed to
answer. She's delegating to you, man. Say that if you want something done right, ask a woman. Miss Williams.
So there are so many things. Rectification of names, which are very important. Persons we could have gotten married. Persons change their need by deed polls, or simple reason that the name on the register is simply incorrect in terms of how you spell. And what we actually found was a lot of persons who took advantage of the rectification as well. They own different properties, but in different names. So, for example, they may have you may have like Sterling Banks or Duane Banks, but it's referring to the same person. So a lot of person took advantage to update their register so it was consistent. And that's really very important, because what we find a lot as well, even from persons who come afterwards, is that you have a number of persons who own property, and on death, again, family is scrabbling to find out what property they own. So you find persons doing is they come to us and they say, we need to search to see what properties my father owned or my mother may have owned, and these are the different names that we are aware that he or she has used over that time. So it was really very important to get it correct, because sometimes you may ask us to search and we may find something that says Duane Banks, we may find something that says Sterling Duane Banks. There's so many different variations. Sometimes persons just don't like their first name, so they just go by their middle name, and then when it comes to administration of property, then you simply the beneficiaries are finding it very difficult to actually locate all the properties that they think that persons may own. So again, when we had the town hall meetings, it's one of the things that we encourage persons to do. Think about making a will, writing down what you own, sharing this information with the persons. But that's one of the things that we actually did encourage at the town hall meetings, about how you go about making estate planning, which is really very important as well.
Do it now while you can, right?
Yeah.
How many of us around the table have wills or put them off?
Yeah.
And there's no, I know many of us have a superstition. If I read a will, that's going to happen. But writing it and keeping it current.
Yeah, and it really does help, especially with persons who have more than one beneficiaries. It really helps with the distribution of the estate and what happens. And it really does prevent a lot of conflicts that may come as well afterwards. So, but the rectifications was very successful. We're very happy how it went. We actually, when we went to the town hall meetings as well, we assisted persons to complete those rectification forms. We mailed it out to them. So that's something that I think going forward we would look again to see if is this something that we would pursue, because it's very important for, as you mentioned earlier, for persons to get notices that persons may be making a claim against your property, notices that there may be planning or development works going up that you may want to have a say in, or you may want to object. If persons want to change the character of a neighborhood, it gives you the opportunity to have a say.
It's something that comes to mind too. An individual, well, let me ask you, has bought a property next to you, so vacant. They've gone and get a fixed boundary survey. That notice goes out, and you don't get it, and you're thinking this is your boundary because that's where your fence is and has always been. All of a sudden now you find out your fence is too far one direction, or in fact you've actually lost or gained property depending on what the boundary says,
Yeah.
and you don't know.
Yeah. So every time that there is a survey done on a property, we serve what we call a Section 18 notice, and it is usually served by a registered or I think now certified mail. And we actually find, even if the address is correct, a lot of them come back unclaimed to the registry because persons may see a registered slip and they may not bother to collect the notice. But going back to that again, and I just wanted to emphasize to persons that when you get that registered slip, you actually have a duty, or it passes a lot of burden onto the person who receives the notice, because you should contact the surveyor to say that you're interested in attending a demonstration of the boundaries. If you do not contact the surveyor, they will not show up. A lot of persons assume they get the notice, it says March 8th, 10 o'clock, the surveyor is going to come. No. What happens is when you get the notice and it says March 18th, it means that you need to call him to say, I will appear, he or she. I think right now we have only male surveyors anyway, so pretty sure I can
You have
say
to
he.
be politically correct.
Do I?
I think the footnote
This
says,
particular guy now.
any word in the masculine is implicit for the feminine.
Yeah.
I saw a footnote.
So the surveyor contact information is there. There's actually self-addressed envelopes there, pre-stamped, so you don't pay any, there's no cost to you to serve notice to the surveyor to say that you will attend. And you're right, it's very important, because sometimes a lot of persons purchase property, the boundaries are not fixed. You may see a fence that has been long-standing, and that is actually not your boundary. There may be no fence. You may think that where a lot of people assume, again, they use markers like the trees, etc., and they assume that that is where their boundary lies. But really, that is demonstrated by a fixed boundary survey. And at that point, you have the opportunity to object to the boundary survey and to have your say in determining what that boundary looks like.
All right. Well, I believe Thursday is a few days from today, and you're having a wonderful customer celebration.
Yes.
Cassava cake is on offer, all sorts of things. So after this break, we talk about what the festivities will look like, maybe some other things that you want to share with us?
Yeah.
All right. Please join us right after the break.
Thank you.
You know, as a little girl, I dreamt of traveling to faraway places and foreign lands. I tell you what though, no more dreaming. This summer, I'm going flying with Cayman Airways. How blessed are we in the Cayman Islands to have a very own national airline? Girl, you can fly to so many international destinations without the hassle of connecting flights. On top of Jamaica, Cuba, and Honduras, you got non-stop flights from Cayman to New York, Miami, Tampa, and even Denver, Los Angeles, and now Panama. Going to be a little cafe con leche and Hollywood Squares for this old gal this summer.
Make your travel dreams come true with Cayman Airways, offering non-stop flights for non-stop adventures in Panama, LA, and many more places in between. For details and to book, call 949-2311, contact a travel agent, or visit CaymanAirways.com.
Back to school just got a whole lot more exciting with Digicel. Activate a Prime bundle or sign up for postpaid and you could win big. We're giving away $1,500 cash, plus Winner's Circle and office supply gift vouchers weekly. But wait, there's more. The grand prize of $5,000 goes to a local school of your choice, and you get a MacBook just for staying on any of our prepaid or postpaid plans. Stay connected, stay smart, and win with Digicel. Terms and conditions apply. Visit Digicel.com for more details. Digicel. Better connected.
From Saturday, August 26th through Saturday, September 2nd, Tomlinson Furniture is having a massive anniversary sale on everything in store.
Living room and bedroom set, outdoor furniture, dining and coffee tables, office desks and chairs, decor, mattresses, and more. All up to 50% off. See an item you like, save an additional 20% off the lowest sale price for savings up to 50% off store-wide. Register to win a $500 shopping spree with each purchase and receive a free gift with each purchase over $100. Shop and save up to 50% store-wide during Tomlinson Furniture's 48th anniversary sale. Sale ends this Saturday. Visit our showroom on the first and second floor of the Tomlinson Building, corner of Hospital and Walkers Road.
Stop kicking that old washer or dryer and stressing out. Brand Source Home Gallery is having an August laundry sale. Save up to 15% on all brands. That's right, save up to 15% on GE, Samsung, LG, Beko, Frigidaire, Electrolux, and even heavy-duty commercial washers and dryers, both gas and electric. Shop Brand Source Home Gallery in August and find the island's largest selection of washers and dryers and save during the August laundry sale. Visit Brand Source Home Gallery on Dorsey Drive in Industrial Park or call 623-5000.
I've got some beautiful clothes. I know just where they go. Good and cleaner.
Get 7% off at prepaid orders, $20 or more, using the most popular eco-friendly cleaning solvents. We also offer Drapery Works bulk laundry to hotel and condos with free pickup and delivery. Visit us at Savannah Countryside or Eastern Avenue drive-thru, rain or shine. Call 949-7104. That's 949-7104. Puritan Cleaners. You feel good when you look good.
The Department of Lands and Survey is pleased to invite the community to their Customer Appreciation Day on Thursday, the 31st of August from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Government Administration Building on Elgin Avenue. There will be refreshments, prize giveaways, and demonstrations. The Lands and Survey Customer Appreciation Day, Thursday, the 31st of August from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Government Administration Building.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, welcome back. Thanks for joining us, and really appreciate when our civil servants get a chance to be commended publicly for their Ontarian service. We have the Registrar of Lands, Ms. Sophie Williams, the Chief Valuation Officer, Ms. Ruth Watson, and of course that always indomitable spirit of Uchi Obi. Why, you get to work with the best people, man.
You can say that again.
You get to work with the best people.
I know. And we have a great team in Lands and Survey, and I'm very, very proud of what we've achieved and what we're going to achieve going forward as well. So, yeah.
Well, I think it's always good. I mean, we see many private sector entities having customer appreciation. They're reflected in different ways, a sale, a promotion, something else. What is Lands and Survey doing?
We don't have anything to sell, unfortunately. But we have a service to provide. So in continuation of our showing our appreciation to the members of the public, we're having a Customer Appreciation Day on Thursday, the 31st of August. And the idea is for the public to come and meet us where we are, which is the Government Administration Building. We'll have lots of prizes. There'll be food as usual, and we'll provide some information on the services we provide. Again, I'm going to hand over to Ms. Williams because she's on the committee planning this customer appreciation delegation again.
Thank you. So one of the things that I want to mention is that we're doing the customer appreciation in Grand Cayman on Thursday, and in Cayman Brac we will hold it at a later date.
Yes.
So on Thursday, we start at 10 p.m. at the Government Administration Building, 10 a.m. and ends at 2 p.m.
So I was going to joke and say you following the politicians. 10 a.m.
10 a.m. We're starting at 10 a.m. And we're going to have a lot of our staff throughout the day that's available for questions. We're going to do demonstration of some of our online services, in particular for persons to make map requests online. So one of the things that a lot of persons come to us, for example, if you're doing any development with planning, and sometimes if you're opening, like, for example, a healthcare center, and you need to appropriate applications in different departments, you have to apply for what is called like buffer maps. Where they will serve notices on all the registered owners. So we're going to demonstrate to persons that how you can do this online without coming to the customer service, without coming to our public counter. Elevation maps that is usually required for the Department of Planning again, for building approval, site maps for electrical works. We also use like digital data maps that the architects may use, because all of that, the digital maps would have, for example, contours, parcels, right-of-way information. And what we plan to do as well, between 10 and 2, is every hour we're going to be doing a spin the wheel. And so we're going to have some fabulous prizes that we're going to be giving out to our customers. There will be gift bags for our customers as well. And in true Caribbean style, we're going to be having music. So we're having a steel pan at 12 o'clock for 1 hour. So we're asking persons to come down and join us. There's food, there is cake. But generally, we really want to show the public who you're dealing with when you call on the telephone. You get a chance to meet different persons throughout the department, to ask your questions. It's a great time to just come down, meet us. Have some questions that you've been holding for a while. We'll be happy to see what information we can assist with.
Yeah, because there'll be representatives from different sections. So there'll be a representative from the valuation, from the survey, from the GIS, from the finance team. So we'll be able to answer all the questions that you will have.
He will be held to that. All the questions.
Within limits, so we'll be able to provide a lot of information. We'll be able to provide a lot of information. I mean, a lot of what persons do with us is pretty legal.
Yeah.
You know, so we can give information, but we can't give advice.
Mm-hmm.
So we normally would encourage persons that when you get information from us, there are going to be in some circumstances, you're going to have to check that with an attorney. But otherwise, there's pretty simple information persons may need to know about rights of ways, if it's affecting your property, when you're purchasing property, what you need to look for. There could be other questions that would be able to give you information for.
Yeah. Another one that's a lot of people have asked questions is stamp duty and waivers, stamp duty and transactions, and who qualifies for a waiver and the different circumstances. I think Ruth, you touched on that.
Yeah, I'm ready. I can talk about
Yes,
that.
please.
Yeah, you want me to talk about that now? Okay, so I just want to give you a bit of information about the waiver concessions that are available at the moment. First of all, everybody probably knows about the first-time Caymanian purchaser waiver, and there's different thresholds there. So Caymanian first-time purchasers are eligible for a 0% duty, so they wouldn't have to pay any duty for a purchase for a property with a building on it up to 400,000 or less. If that price increases above 400 but is still below 500, then it would be 2% duty on that purchase. And where it's a raw piece of land only, so there's no building on the property, it's 0% up to 150,000. And then anything which is between 150,000 to 200,000 is 2%. And they are if it's a single person purchasing the property. Now, where there's 2 or more Caymanians purchasing a property, no more than 10, the value increases slightly. So for land with the buildings, it would be 0% up to 500,000, and it would be 2% on anything between 500 and 600,000. And then where it's raw land only, it would be 0% up to 300,000 and 2% between 300 and 350,000. There's also 2 additional concessions which are available for the BRAC only. The first one is a 0% on raw land purchases only, which are going to be developed. There's some requirements within that. The property has to be developed within 4 years, otherwise you have to pay back the duty, and you have to apply to the Minister of Finance for that waiver concession. The other concession is a standard concession through the BRAC for any property which is purchased with a building on it, and the rate applicable there is 3% instead of the usual 7.5%, and that is available to anybody.
To anyone?
Anybody. Yeah, any purchaser.
Yeah.
You know, ways to incentivize the economy and to give access.
Yeah, and most of that information is on our website, www.caymanlandinfo.ky, and if you click on About Us and Stamp Duty, the rates of duty are there, and how they apply is also there as well.
The application form for the first-time Caymanian purchasers is there as well, so they can download that form, and that gives you all the details of the supporting information that's required with your application, and you fill out the form, and you would send that off to the email address on that application form.
And those concessions, first-time, for instance, the first-time buyer, that person cannot have another property registered in his or her name, or does it matter?
So it has to be their first purchase. So if they've inherited land or property in the past, then that's fine. It's only applicable to their first purchase of property.
So if parents gifted their children either through a will or some other grant, that's fine.
That's fine.
Now they're making a purchase.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I was going to ask something else too. I was just thinking about a cassava cake for Thursday. All right. I know you had mentioned you've done, sort of the road tour across the country and the BRAC. Any plans maybe for future doing it again within Grand Cayman as well?
We're not sure about that. I mean, because it took a lot of work for us to do it around the different districts. I don't think it would be fair for us to go to one district again and not go to the others. So if we're going to do the tour, we need to do the tour of all the districts other than just the one-off. The other thing that we are considering how successful it has been is the stamp duty waivers and rectifications has been quite successful. It helps us because if we have the right information, then we're able to reach the members of the public and communicate to them when we need to. So we'll consider that and see if it's possible whether we'll do something like similar before the end of the year.
All right. Let's ask one final question in relation to making a distinction between where do you go, is it planning or lands and survey? A person has a property, wishes to develop it, but not quite sure what's allowed on that property. So is that a question for planning or lands and survey?
So that's a question for the Department of Planning.
I know. Thank you for clarifying that. See, I tell people, they don't believe it.
Now you know. That's a question for the Department of Planning.
So anything to do with ownership of your property, establishing the boundaries, establishing the ownership, establishing what rights you have, will be lands and survey. Anything regarding developing the property is planning. I think that's the distinction.
Yep. And sometimes the two go hand in hand, but and both departments are right there, very accessible.
Yeah, we're on the same floor as well.
Yeah,
same floor, and they did join us. And just to let you know that they did join us on our community when we had our community town hall meetings. They attended each of those meetings with us, the Department of Planning. So we want to say thank you. And again, I would just like to. Final thing is just to let persons know that we do have a lot of information apart from our websites. We're on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, and LinkedIn.
Yep.
So search for Lands and Survey CI. You'll find us. We have a lot of information. We a lot of information. We encourage persons to. So I'd encourage persons to follow us. We post jobs. We post information about what we do and how it affects you. So please follow us on social media, and also all of that is also available on the website as well.
Yeah,
awesome. Well, Ms. Ruth, any closing thoughts you may want to leave with our audience?
No, just if anybody's unsure of what they're entitled to, then please feel free to give us a call or go on our website, and we'll be able to point you in the right direction and offer you whatever help we can.
All right. So, final closing thoughts to you.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Stelling, for accommodating us. And we're really looking forward to the Customer Appreciation Day on Thursday. And we encourage as many people to come out as possible. It will be a great time, and we're really, really looking forward to it.
10 a.m. people, not 10 p.m.
Yep, 10
That's
a.m.
the after.
You can come at your lunchtime. You don't have to be there at 10. You can come at your lunchtime between 12 and 2. You can come at 3. It's 10 to 3, so it's a revolving door. You just come, spend some time with us, and
it's a fantastic department.
Yeah,
but thank you both for allowing Mr. Uche to get at his office.
It's lunchtime, so I have to get lunch.
No, seriously, may the Customer Appreciation Day, really be a resounding success, and as a public, we appreciate, the importance of our Lands and Survey Department relative to our land ownership, access, and the rights that we have. So I'm looking forward to popping over for a bit.
Okay.
Cassava cake on me?
Yes, definitely.
All right, we're going to pause. When we come back, we invite you to join us as we talk about the Region Project. Stay tuned.
Follow Radio Cayman on Twitter. All the latest information, breaking news, community events, and more. Follow us at twitter.com/Radio Cayman.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman. Your voice, your choice.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
The Headline News is brought to you by Health Services Authority and the Ministry of Tourism and Transport.
With your latest headlines, I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins. The next district meeting on the proposed sexual harassment bill is scheduled for Bodden Town today, August 28th, from 6:30 p.m. till 7:30 p.m. at the Theoline L. McCoy Primary School Hall. In international news, on the ground floor of the National Museum of Scotland in Edinburgh, one of its biggest displays is being carefully prepared for a 4,200-mile journey to its original home. A 36-foot, 1-ton totem pole will be returned to the Nisga'a Nation, one of the indigenous groups in what is now known as British Columbia on the west coast of Canada. The totem pole has been in Scotland for almost a century since it was sold to the museum. However, Nisga'a's researchers say it was stolen without consent while locals were away from their villages for the annual hunting season. Authorities in India have sealed a private school after its teacher asked students to slap their Muslim classmate. Officials said Neha Public School was shut down as it did not meet the education department's criteria. The school's students would be shifted to a government school or other nearby schools, officials said. Meanwhile, the teacher has said she is not ashamed of her actions. These are your headlines. I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
The headline news is brought to you by Health Services Authority and the Ministry of Tourism and Transport.
It's one of the best moments of your life when you welcome your baby into the world. The HSA's experienced women's health and maternity team provides the highest quality of care throughout your pregnancy and delivery. As a JCI accredited hospital, we are the leader in maternal care, safely delivering over 700 babies annually. Visit hsa.ky for more information. At HSA, we are committed to caring for you.
I am Teresa Pitcairn, the chairperson of the Cayman Islands Beautification Task Force. Derelict vehicles are not only unsightly, they also lower the quality of life in our neighborhoods and pose serious public health and safety risk. To report a derelict vehicle, please call the Department of Environmental Health on 949-6696.
Be a part of the solution, not the pollution. Littering is a crime punishable by a $500 fine or 6 months in prison. Brought to you by the Beautification Task Force and Ministry of Tourism and Ports.
Radio Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette brought to you by the Ministry of District Administration and Lands. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your Sister Islands.
Mary Genevieve Bawden, 1914 to 1992.
Ms. Genevieve was a dedicated Sunday school teacher and Cub Scout captain. She was active in the Christian Endeavor Society of the Presbyterian Church. When she passed her first examination in Jamaica, she began teaching under the guidance of Mr. T.F. Hill. She left the government school system for a time and ran a private school in her home from 1930 to 1944. She received higher education in Jamaica and in New Zealand, Barbados, and Wales. Ms. Genevieve served as head teacher in the government schools in West Bay, Northside, and Savannah, and also taught in Cayman Brac and Georgetown. When she retired, she was executive officer in the Department of Education.
Radio Cayman is pleased to feature this special Sister Islands historical vignette brought to you by the Ministry of District Administration and Lands. Explore your history, explore your land, explore your Sister Islands.
Explore your history. Explore your land. Explore your Sister Islands, the ultimate staycation experience. Your culture, your freedom, the land that time forgot isn't gone. It's your Sister Islands.
Discover all that our Sister Islands have to offer.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
And welcome back. Thanks for joining us. Man, when you can have as much laughter on a Monday as I have had already, you know the week has to be fantastic. Hey, thanks for joining us as we invite you to be reminded of some public meetings tonight as we talk about the Regen project. But we welcome to the studio Ms. Jeannie Banks. Good mom, how are you?
I'm very well, Sterling. Thanks very much, and good afternoon to everyone.
All right, and we'll come back to you in a second about your role and which sort of one of the many hats that you're wearing and how that fits in with our discussions. But first, perhaps to our two new acquaintances, Mr. Richard and then to Blair. Maybe a quick intro of each of you. Start with you, Ms. Zachary.
Sure. Good afternoon, Sterling. Good afternoon, everybody.
My name's Richard Macquarie. I'm a project manager with the DART Consortium on the Regen project. I've been on island for about 3 years, and almost whole of that time been involved in Regen, or the ISWIMS project. And a principal role has been the project management of the EIA, which we're excited to be in the very much the heart of the public consultation aspect of it now, with some hopefully some very fruitful meetings coming up over the next few days, and the opportunity for the public to get involved and give us their feedback and thoughts on the project.
All right, Mr. Blair.
Yes, hi, and thanks for having us. Blair Schonecker. I'm a senior waste and environmental planner with GHD, and GHD are working with APEC on the environmental impact assessment itself. So we're representing the technical disciplines and input into the environmental impact assessment overall.
All right. So for those listening, the EIA is just an environmental impact assessment. What does that mean? What would constitute when you were to do an EIA? What would that look like?
Well, there's specific legislative requirements here in Cayman, and effectively, the essence behind an environmental impact assessment is to understand what the potential impacts to that broad definition of the environment might be. And when I say broad definition, I'm talking about natural, social, cultural, economic potential impacts of a proposed project. And so, in the case here, we've looked at each of those elements of that broad definition of the environment. With the implementation of the integrated solid waste management system, or the ISWIMS, and looked at how might the environment be impacted by the implementation of this project, both positive and negative. And it's important to look at what those potential impacts could be on both people and the environment to minimize or reduce or completely eliminate those impacts so that the project can be implemented in a sound manner.
Right. So, Richard, as I come back to you, we've heard increasing the word regen and isms and schisms, as Bob Marley talk about. Not so much for levity, but to help the people to get a little bit more comfortable and to appreciate, is it one and the same? Is it different? What is regen?
Regen is one and the same as ISWIMS. And essentially, it's a name that I prefer because it's gone through a degree of public consultation. It's meant to illuminate the project in a way that it describes regeneration, it describes energy, and energy recovery is a very important aspect of the project. It covers the waste hierarchy on the REES, the reduce, reuse, recycle aspects of it. So it's a brand name and hopefully a comfortable community name for the project, and less of a mouthful than integrated solid waste management system.
But for those, they're both synonymous with just using one much easier.
They're both one and the same.
Because it's many times, we hear much communities repeated in the media and we tune out. Oh, that's what they're talking about.
Right. So I guess from my perspective, Sterling, just to remind the public that environmental impact assessment is governed under the EIA directive, which is gazetted under the National Conservation Act. So as Blair and Richard have been speaking to, that's the legislative framework that underpins the process for EIA in Cayman. Part of that directive sets up an environmental assessment board, which is, it basically acts, it is a subcommittee of the National Conservation Council. So as a council member, I chair that subcommittee. The director of planning, who's also on the National Conservation Council, is a full-time member of the Environmental Assessment Board, as is the deputy director for research and assessment in the Department of Environment. Other members of environmental assessment boards are appointed dependent on the project that's being examined and assessed. So for the ISWIMS, the Integrated Solid Waste Management project, or the Regen project as we've now come to know it, the other members of the Environmental Assessment Board that were appointed were the Department of Environmental Health, for obvious reasons. They're the current managers of the solid waste management space in Cayman, the Water Authority, Cayman, and the National Roads Authority. So there have been representatives from those agencies who have been participating in the EAB's role, which is basically to administer the EIA process, but also to provide technical feedback to the consultants on the assessment exercises that they've been carrying out in the technical studies that underpin those assessments. So we've been working with Blair and his team and Richard and the Regen team pretty much for the last 2.5 years on this to bring it to today, where we have a draft environmental statement. And that environmental statement is really the summary of the outputs of the environmental impact assessments. So there will be chapters in the environmental statement that deal with all of the various technical areas that GHD have looked at. So, whether it's impacts in the terrestrial ecology or the socioeconomics or the hydrology or whatever aspect that has been determined in the terms of reference. And just reminding the public as well that in October 2021, we actually, some of the same team members took the terms of reference for the EIA out for public consultation. So the terms of reference are essentially a document that provides the recipe for Blair and his team to follow in terms of actually addressing the concerns of the NCC and the members of the public that were articulated at that time and captured in the terms of reference.
Thanks for that, Ms. Gina. So, Richard, to you, we heard the term waste to energy. Is that what Regen is? And if it is, well, what is waste to energy?
It's one very important element of the project. It is the largest single element that will ultimately replace the landfill operations that have obviously been going on in Cayman at the Georgetown landfill for decades. Waste to energy, or as we essentially describe it in the project, an energy recovery facility allows us to combust. It's a mass burn combustion technology through very proven technology, globally proven technology that's operating throughout the world. Many hundreds of plants operate in the same methodology. So it's reliable, it's proven, it allows us to come up with a safe disposal mechanism whereby the material is essentially put in through delivered into a tipping hole, is put into a bunker, and a crane is utilised to homogenize the waste. That waste is then lifted by the crane into a grate, a fire grate essentially, where the material is combusted. That combustion process generates heat, which in turn generates steam, and that turns a turbine. And that, from a turbine on, it's very traditional, turbine technology that generates electricity. There are some byproducts from the energy recovery facility. Two main aspects. One are ash, one being the bottom ash, which we will seek to recover. We'll pull the metals out of that, and that bottom ash can also be used as a secondary aggregate, as a fill or a road-based material. So we're really trying to utilize every element of the process. But it also then generates a fly ash, and the fly ash is typically a material that people may have greater concerns about, because we have a very, very robust air pollution control system. Emissions from energy recovery facilities are very, very well managed, and so the byproducts of those are pulled out through our air pollution control system, and essentially they are then in a concentrated form. They're mixed with a cement and a polzanic material, which is essentially a binding material, and put into the residual waste landfill. And unlike the existing landfill, this landfill will be fully lined. It's got no exposure to the biosphere, so the material is essentially locked in that space. So that's the most, by far and away, the largest element of it. But it's not the only. And it's very important to understand it's not the only element of the Regen project.
All right. So that's the largest component. What are some of the other?
So some of the other elements include a material recovery facility, so to allow for the expansion of recyclable materials in the community. A construction and demolition waste facility, so that makes up quite a substantial volume and by weight of the materials that currently get sent to landfill. And if you think about concrete and breeze blocks and timbers and steel, they're all readily recyclable materials that really should have a secondary home as opposed to disposal. Composting, so a significant increase in kind of mulching and composting of the green waste. This island, given our climate, generates a substantial quantity of that type of material. We also then have a household waste recycling facility, so an expansion of the area where the public can drop off materials that are beyond their current use. A bottom ash processing facility that I've already mentioned to allow us to use that as secondary aggregate. A continuation, but an expansion of the end-of-life vehicles facility. And we've had to undertake a huge clean-up operation on the GTLF site, getting rid of cars, stockpiles of cars that had essentially been there since Hurricane Ivan. And that would have been, people would have seen the barges that have gone off island, and that site is now clear, and it's now working with the DEH to make sure that we keep on top of those vehicles at the end of life, and they get depolluted appropriately and managed accordingly.
So to give us as the public an understanding, let's take for instance the construction waste. What happens now to it, and what would be different if this project was fully operational?
With the majority of construction waste at the moment goes into the Georgetown landfill.
Just goes there and becomes part of the pile.
Becomes part of the pile. So this is new separate infrastructure that will allow and will require, builders on the island, developers on the island to have a degree of separation on their site. So whenever not everything goes into one skip bin, but all those types of materials can be directed into a particular skip bin and delivered to that particular facility for separation and recycling.
So with that and with the construction, so let's say it's a redevelopment of one of the condos. They tear down all the concrete, it comes to the site now, it just goes into the landfill.
Correct.
When the project is operational, that material now will be separate. And what happens to that? Go
into the construction demolition waste facility. So there'll be quite heavy equipment that allows for concrete crushing. We'll obviously look to pull out the metals, and there's quite a lot of value in metals. Steel, even the likes of copper wiring and things like that. Copper has quite a value. So all of those materials have the opportunity to be segregated and then have a secondary purpose, either being sent offshore for further recycling, the metals, for example, or on island, the crushed aggregates and things like that used as road fill or.
Okay. And then when we talk waste energy, just part of the concept, what is waste energy versus another term we heard, zero waste?
Well, they're very, very different concepts. Ultimately, zero waste is to my mind, an interesting term. It's very much more challenging to prove up, as has been demonstrated globally in various waste management strategies, and it starts from the procurement side of things, typically led by governments, and what it means in every aspect of everyday life. So whether it's being a resident, being a commercial business, being a construction business, a retail business, it's certainly a nice to have, but in reality it doesn't often come to fruition in my experience. What waste to energy does is it clearly doesn't allow you to have a zero waste, because as I've already mentioned, the likes of the fly ash and things like that do end up in the residual waste landfill and do require disposal. But from an island perspective, where it clearly needs to move away from an unlined landfill that has had issues for quite some period of time, be it fire related or some of the other environmental issues, be it odour or things like that do affect the environment. The government have recognised that through their waste management strategy that was released in 2016, and the Regen project is the realisation of a transition away from the Georgetown landfill, but also to allow significant improvement for reduce, reuse, recovery in the community.
Right. And I appreciate it, because I think many times we hear increasingly people tune out, or when they tune in, they're not quite sure what is it that they're hearing. And so I appreciate this opportunity to maybe ask on, even for my own personal edification. Now, we've heard of, so this waste energy, you're going to be collecting the waste, you're going to burn it. These are some of the byproducts. What are the things you would be burning? And is that same as an incinerator of sorts, that the waste?
Yeah, well, incinerator it's considered a dirty word, but the reality is it is incineration of waste.
Yeah.
It's of waste. It's mass burn combustion.
Mm-hmm.
It's the principal disposal mechanism for residual waste, but it has to be taken in the context of the other facilities that are going to be developed alongside it. So it allows Cayman to transition, to move up the waste hierarchy. Landfills at the bottom of the waste hierarchy, reduce, reuse, recycling. So the social and cultural element that goes with that has to be done in collaboration with DEH and the government's implementation of a strategy that allows people, I guess, the easiest and the path of least resistance to undertake recycling and reduce their actual consumption, or potentially home composting, or there's it's a number of elements, but this is infrastructure that's enabling infrastructure of the country to move forward.
Right, and this is where I think public discussions and unasked questions never get answered, right? And I think Ms. Jennifer Ahern has introduced us to a term, feedstock. Is that applicable here? Is that
feedstock is it's a term utilised for what you feed the energy from waste.
Yeah,
right. Energy recovery. So it is that is your feedstock, and your typical feedstock certainly, and it will change over time. I would hope it will change over time as new recycling is introduced into the community. That's why the other facility has been built. But essentially, it's the principal disposal mechanism for your black bin waste.
Right. So initially now, with this project's operational, the feedstock would be aluminum cans, glass. What would it be?
No. So it's the materials that, from a residential perspective, that typically go into your black bin. We hope, and where you would anticipate there will be expansion of recycling opportunities done. But we would hope, as I do, and I'm sure Miss Gina does on the island, that people separate their cans and their paper and their card and their plastics, and we would hope that there will be an expansion of those services in the community to support the infrastructure that we're building. It's all the residual material, so it's the if it's dirty pizza boxes, or it's nappies, or it's residual waste, essentially materials that are not easily or readily recyclable, A, because we don't have the infrastructure to do it, or B, crucially more importantly, there isn't a secondary industry or
right.
opportunity to actually manage that material. And Cayman being small, is we are slightly conflicted, and why energy recovery is so important in this island. We just don't have the economies of scale to generate the collection, coordination, transportation and delivery of these materials overseas and offshore, because from a carbon footprint and sustainability perspective and cost perspective, it just doesn't make sense.
All right. And I recognize that we have a break coming up, but if I may ask once more, so that people get a perspective. Many of us now recycle. We wash our aluminum cans and number 2 plastic, and we do a decent job. What is the state of recycling in this country? We know that the glass is no longer recycled, so that goes out into our garbage. But the other things that are recycled, the aluminum cans and the paper and the plastic, where is that now, and how does that fit into this project presently?
Well, the existing status is exactly the same. The intention of this project is to allow for a significant expansion with regards to the volumes, the quantities, the potential rollout of DEH providing recycling bins into the community, so each residential household, or working with some of the private sector businesses to collect more plastics, more cans, because we'll have the capacity to process in much greater.
But presently now,
but it's status quo.
Yeah.
So it's the community bins that are in the car parks. It's some of the recycling that's undertaken by some of the private sector. Glass, I would say, certainly, I think there was an announcement that came out from Mr. Frank Flowers last week, and there is coordination and collaboration, hopefully, to reintroduce glass processing and therefore glass collection in the relatively near future. So that will certainly come online prior to the development and operations of the regen.
And then the current recycling that we do, as it gets collected, it's sent off air somewhere about.
Yeah, so essentially the materials are aggregated, they've got put into crushers, they get baled,
Mhm.
and then they get sent offshore for recycling and processing.
Okay. And as we take this break, one other question. There are those who say that, burning waste produces toxins. You've talked about the fly ash and the bottom ash and the like. To what extent does that contribute to the increased toxins in the air and the other pollutants? Just waste the energy, the incineration and the like.
Well, I can certainly feel that from an experience of working on quite a number of energy recovery facilities, and the system that is being put in place for the air pollution control residue, we're matching the existing highest global standards, which are the European Industrial Emission Directive standards. So we will be matching those. They'll be readily available for the public to view, for the DOE to view, and the government to view, to make sure that our performance is as we had proposed with regards to the plant's design and operations.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, Blair, if you want to field an aspect of the air pollution.
Yeah, no, part of the biggest mitigation around air quality is in relation to the design of the facility itself. But what our team did was we went out and we looked at what's the existing conditions of the background levels, and then completed some detailed modeling with respect to what's coming out of that stack. Keeping in mind that air pollution control system is going to minimize or avoid any type of pollutants into the atmosphere. So that's actually one really key area of the environmental statement, is the summary on air quality and greenhouse gases, where we take the as I say, the existing conditions, the background levels, and then model in what the development may contribute to the atmospheric environment, and it's being controlled to the levels that Richard had mentioned.
All right. Well, we know there are public meetings coming up, and one starts this evening. So when we come back from the break, we'll talk about that. Appreciate the opportunity to get a first-hand sort of perspective and some education. To our listeners, please join us after the break.
They say variety is the spice of life, and that's why at Subway we're introducing the new boneless hot sub. Say what? The premium sub brings new ingredients like spicy breaded boneless chicken, French's crispy fried onions, and buffalo wing sauce, bringing a zesty and flavorful experience with every bite. Add some of your favorite veggies, cheese, and ranch sauce of your choice of freshly baked bread for the ultimate boneless hot sub. For a little spice in your life, try the new boneless hot sub from Subway.
So good and tasty.
And make it a meal with a drink and chips or cookies. Subway. Eat fresh.
You know, as a little girl, I dreamt of traveling to faraway places and foreign lands. I tell you what though, no more dreaming. This summer, I'm going flying with Cayman Airways. How blessed are we in the Cayman Islands to have a very own national airline? Girl, you can fly to so many international destinations without the hassle of connecting flights. On top of Jamaica, Cuba, and Honduras, you got non-stop flights from Cayman to New York, Miami, Tampa, and even Denver, Los Angeles, and now Panama. Going to be a little cafe con leche and Hollywood Squares for this old gal this summer.
Make your travel dreams come true with Cayman Airways, offering non-stop flights for non-stop adventures in Panama, LA, and many more places in between. For details and to book, call 949-2311, contact a travel agent, or visit CaymanAirways.com.
As a general rule, your septic tank should be pumped out by a professional every 3 years. During hurricane season, however, it is important to keep your septic tank at least partially full to keep it from floating or collapsing during a storm. For more useful hurricane preparedness tips, visit the Water Authority's website at www.waterauthority.ky or follow us on social media.
Introducing Digicell's all-new prepaid plans, packed with more any-use data than ever before. Entertainment data for the apps you love, like Netflix, Spotify, YouTube, and TikTok. Plus, endless social data for Snapchat, WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. So you're always in the know. Stay connected. Stay entertained with Digicell's new prepaid plans. Activate in the My Digicel app today. Digicel, better connected. The best foundation you can wear is glowing, healthy skin. The offices of dermatologist Dr. Wayne Porter specialize in enhancing your skin's well-being. Whether you're seeking advanced skin care, including any skin cancers, Botox, filler, cosmetic skin enhancements, or simply looking to reduce wrinkles, Dr. Porter offers a full-service dermatology and dermatological surgery practice. For more information, email drporterkman@gmail.com or call 946-9020. That is 946-9020.
The Ministry of Sustainability and Climate Resiliency wants your feedback on the updated National Energy Policy. The updated policy proposes new national targets for renewable energy, electric vehicles, and greenhouse gas emissions. Watch a virtual town hall and download the draft policy at gov.ky/national energy policy and send us your feedback by the 31st of August. You can take our survey online or email your feedback to energy@gov.ky. Log on to gov.ky/national energy policy to learn more.
Who will be the new queen? Miss Universe Cayman Islands will crown a new queen Saturday, September 2nd at the Westin Cayman Resort. Witness 5 stunning contestants as they hit the stage to become your national queen at the Miss Universe Cayman Islands 2023 competition finals and coronation. Be in the audience of this fabulous gala while being streamed live on the Miss Universe platform. 5 beautiful ladies, 1 crown on 1 fabulous night. Get your tickets at eventpro.ky or Funky Monkey at Governor Square. Miss Universe Cayman Islands 2023, Saturday, September 2nd at the Westin Cayman Resort. You don't want to miss it.
Talk to Dick. But I do have some questions. Talk to Dick.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk to Dick.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Welcome back and thanks for joining us. And as we have an opportunity to talk about the Regen project this evening, there's a public meeting. We'll remind you when and where and how to get there. Ms. Jeannie Ebanks joins us. Richard Macquarie, is that right? And I almost want to say, no BS from Blair Shonica, but I won't say it. You shared a good joke with me. Yeah. Blair, I tell you, man, good sense of humor can take you a long ways.
Exactly. Yeah, thank you.
All right. But let's ask Ms. Jeannie first. So tonight, there's a meeting.
Yes. There is our first of 3 public meetings. This evening will be at the Harquail Theatre. It's from 6 p.m. until 9 p.m. The presentations are going to start at 7, but we're hoping that people will come out in advance of that to be able to take advantage of the information boards that GHD has prepared. They have a board that sort of summarizes the studies and the findings from the assessment from each of the various areas that have been studied as part of the EIA. So tonight, 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. at the Harquail Theatre. Tomorrow night, we're going to be in West Bay. That meeting starts earlier. It starts at 5 o'clock till 8 o'clock. Presentations are going to begin an hour earlier at 6. So we're asking members of the public who want to take advantage of the West Bay venue to get there for 5 o'clock to 6 o'clock to view the boards. Presentations start at 6. Wednesday evening, we move to the Mary Miller Hall in Red Bay. And that, again, reverts to a 6 to 9 p.m. time slot with the presentation starting at 7. Now, if someone cannot make either of these public meetings, the consultants, GHD, have put together what's known as a virtual engagement room. And I'm going to ask Blair to correct me if I say anything incorrect about this. But folks will be able to log into the virtual engagement room and access the same information that they would see on the information boards, as well as all of the documentation that's related and relevant to the EIA. And they will have the opportunity to feedback in that forum with filling in a form, etc., if they prefer to utilize that option. This evening's meeting is also going to be broadcast on CIG TV. And again, that broadcast will be then played on YouTube, so you can actually access that as well after the meeting this evening. In terms of where you can access the documentation, particularly the draft environmental statement and the non-technical summary of the environmental statement. So that non-technical summary is really meant to outline the key significant effects that have been brought to the surface by the assessments. It describes the process in general terms, etc., and it's meant to be understood by just your average person. So there are two documents, the full environmental statement and the non-technical summary, available on the DOE website, the ReGen website, as well as the National Conservation Council's website. So www.doe.ky for the DOE website and www.regen.ky for the ReGen website. There will be a link from the DOE website to the NCC website, so you can find it that way. So hopefully we've given the public lots of different ways that they can engage and feed back to us, because we really do want to hear from you. We want you to check that your concerns are covered in the environmental statement, and let us know if you have any questions by feeding back to us with the forms that are going to be provided at each of the meetings, but also on the websites and in the virtual engagement room.
So tonight, Hartwell, 6 o'clock and 7 p.m. the presentation start.
Correct.
All right. Richard, if I would come back to you, then maybe two initial things as we start this discussion back. Where are we now with the project?
Where are we now with the project? Well, we're obviously at the concluding phases of the EIA aspect of the project. So once we go through public consultation and get the feedback from the general public, that goes principally and first and foremost to the DOE and the EAB for review. Those comments then come to myself and the GHD team to come up with the appropriate answers and responses to those, and if there's any amendments or revisions required. And the EIA process is due to conclude with the EAB making a recommendation to Cabinet in January 2024. With regards to the broader project, as has now been quite well documented, everybody's working very, very hard to hit a 30th of September financial close. And essentially that is the project coming to a conclusion from a project agreement perspective and the execution of that project agreement with the government, and really allowing the project to progress with regards to the engagement of the subcontractors, the contractors who are going to be developing the energy recovery facility, the other facilities, the energy from waste contractors, and it's a very, very, certainly a first of its kind in Cayman, but a complicated project whereby it's having to engage contractors in very specialist engineering disciplines for the development of a particular energy recovery facility, and that engagement takes time. The DART Consortium, we believe we're in a good place with regards to having those contractors lined up. We understand the solution that needs to be developed, and now it's in the final stages of negotiation with the Cayman Islands government.
So with that, to hit that September 30th sort of deadline, specifically, what are the outstanding elements?
Well, there's a number of commercial points that I'm not in a position to go into at the moment, Sterling, because they are commercial in confidence within the project agreement. It's fair to say that we're down to a very small number of points now. Some of them relate to the engagement with CUC and power purchase agreements. Some of them relate to the commercial aspects of the project. Some of it relates to just to the disciplines and the nuances of being on an island and how you kind of manage weather events and hurricanes and things like that. So but from where we started from, and you can imagine it's a very detailed project agreement that aligns everybody to pull together a successful project that can be developed to provide infrastructure, not just for the 25 years of the project agreement, but indeed, the 40 to 45, 50 year lifespan of the actual infrastructure that's being developed. There's a lot of work and a lot of detail goes into that.
Okay, and presumably if the project is sort of agreed and all the contracts are signed, those commercial areas that you referenced, would they then become public, given?
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly aspects of it will become public. There will always be commercial aspects of the project that will have to remain commercial in confidence with regards to the relationship between CIG and ourselves as a developer, and indeed our subcontractors. But there's certainly are significant elements of it that will be available.
Right. And then once we get to that stage, if we reach there, when would we expect, physical work to begin, funds to be paid out, and the project to commence?
Well, essentially, the EIA is a major kind of trigger point that then transitions us into. We have to develop what's called essentially it's a planning application, but it's a development application pack for submission to planning. We also have to produce all the documentation required for building control unit and our permitting side of things. But essentially construction will, an early works construction will be commencing Q2 next year.
Okay. And then this is a 25-year sort of agreement with a possible 40 to 50-year lifespan of the actual facility.
Yeah, so the contract itself is a 25-year operational contract. Obviously, you've got the construction period in advance of that, but the reality is this infrastructure has been proven throughout the world. I mean, it doesn't stop working after 25 years. It still has many years of operational life beyond the contract period, and ultimately that becomes a government decision with regards to either extension of the contract or taking it in-house or providing it to another contractor. Or
what are some of the projected costs? I mean, we've heard all sorts of numbers. What are we looking at? 50 billion?
I'm not in a position to talk about the commercial aspects of the project today.
But it's part of the government. I mean, taxpayers' money. The government's committing the country to a 50-year something, and we heard the former deputy premier talk about 1.9 billion. We've heard people say 500 million.
Yeah.
I mean,
there's a huge amount of speculation on the numbers. Unfortunately, I am not in a position to provide detail on the final estimate, because the reality is that's an important aspect of the project that's still in final negotiation.
Who would be in that position? I mean, isn't this not the government's committing the country for decades in significant hundreds of millions of dollars?
It is a government PPP project, but I would expect the government to provide exactly the same response standing today that I am, because it's a commercial agreement that's still in development and commercial negotiation. So there are the development costs, but there are also then government costs, and the government costs that I'm absolutely not privy to. So I would fully expect the government to say and it's right and appropriate that as we stand today, in advance of the financial close of this project, this major project, a project of significance for the island, is to not provide commentary on the commercial aspect of it. I apologise for that.
No. It's, if you and I were negotiating, it would be different. But I'm just asking questions, as you've very, very obviously aware of much of what is being said in the community. And in the absence of accurate, timely information, there's a lot of speculation.
Sure.
So for me, it's neither here nor there at this time. But what would you say to those who have shared that in parts of Europe, including England, that many of these waste energy facilities, these incinerators, aren't able to have sufficient feedstock to be economically feasible?
Yeah, I'm not aware of too many of those.
Denmark, I think, is one. Nottinghamshire, there's a couple.
Yeah, but of course they also have they have the benefit of having intercountry transportation of waste, and waste is essentially considered almost like a commodity where there is transboundary shipment. The facility in this island is being designed and developed to support the feedstock available on this island throughout that period of time. Ultimately, we know there's not going to be a decrease in population on the island. The population is increasing, and as such, waste volumes are going to be increasing over time. The number of tourists coming to the island is typically increasing. So there is not a concern that the feedstock for the plant, there isn't going to be enough feedstock for the plant throughout its life. Indeed, the reason why, one important element of developing an integrated solid waste management system is that there could well be a shift of feedstock of different material types. So going back to my previous point of where there's an increase in the opportunity once the infrastructure comes online for recycling and other materials and consolidation of other recyclable materials, well, that can be reflected in the community through collection regimes that take them out of their typical disposal or black bin disposal methodology, push them into the other elements of the Regen project, and that balance of maintaining an appropriate capacity in the energy recovery facility as waste volumes increase over time.
In terms of quantity, as you shared, how many tons, whatever measurement of feedstock we would need to be able to ensure this facility is economically, financially viable?
Well, I mean, it's the capacity of the facility is being designed and developed for 120,000 tons per annum. And obviously it's not starting at that. You have to build in some headroom for growth over time. But with regards to the starting capacity, and it's not really, the cost model isn't quite as simple as just a minimum feedstock requirement that the government have to produce or provide into the facility. But for an operational efficiency perspective, your minimum really would be around 90,000 tons. But we know we're there already.
And I just want to make sure I didn't misunderstand you. There isn't, as you just shared, I didn't want to misunderstand. Did you say that there isn't a minimum amount of fees for the government, or there is?
Well, there's obviously a contractual minimum, but I'm talking more about the operational efficiency.
So with that contractual minimum,
there's no mismatch at the moment with regards to the waste that's available and the minimum tonnage for the operational efficiency of the plant. That's what I'm saying.
You're right. And I guess in just reading the trend, because this is an interesting project. We're talking something 5 decades, and Gina and I will still be here, but
I hope you are.
Oh, amen. No, I will be. I mean, I'm 120 easy, man. The reason I'm asking is as we look at different projects across Europe, and they do have very, very high environmental standards, but we've seen that many of those jurisdictions, even though, as you shared, they can, truck stuff in across the different countries, as some have opted to purchase. But then it would appear that some have that minimum contractual agreement. In the absence of meeting that, the state, the county, this country has to pay the contractor a fee
to top up.
Yeah. So that's possibly part of our agreement as well.
Yeah. From the all I can tell you, Sterling, is from a waste flow modelling perspective, there is no concerns either on our side as a developer or the government side with regards to the generation of feedstock for this being an operational efficient plant that nobody can see a scenario where it's going to have hit minimum kind of thresholds for the operational efficiency of the plant.
Okay. Let's take this call, if we might. Hey, welcome. Thanks for calling.
Good afternoon to you, Sterling Green.
And to you, sir. How are you?
Just fine, thank you. Good afternoon to your illustrious panel members there.
Good afternoon.
I'm a little bit confused here with regards to regeneration, utilizing it for transmitting electricity, and there are only 2 ways really of getting electricity. Would be the more static way of the solar-powered cells, and the mechanical way, whether it's hydro or whether it's by diesel-powered engines or steam-powered turbines or so forth, which and even wind-powered is mechanical, really, turning generators. Whenever you have wind, which we can't seem to have here, they're much too high and too bulky and too big and so forth. Anyhow, what is the proposed method of utilizing? I'm supposing it's gas. To put it in simple layman's form, what we're going to extract from the landfill would be, and it looks beautiful now, much better than before. it would be sort of a gas, and that gas would be used straight into turbines as like gas-powered turbines, or would it be used to heat boilers, to provide the power for steam-powered turbines? Can you explain that simply? What is it? How are you going to provide the electricity that you're supposed to be providing?
Yeah. Good afternoon, sir. There's two elements that we're talking about. So the landfill gas, as you've rightly pointed out, is we've recently installed flares. So that's really about reducing the carbon impact of the methane coming off.
Yes, I understand all reducing carbon and all.
But the
I'm not here about that.
The methodology then is for utilising that same infrastructure is to extract the gas, and it has the ability to go into essentially a gas engine, as you've articulated, and that can generate the power. It also has the ability to be piped into the energy recovery facility, and the energy recovery facility in its capacity generates will export about 8.5 megawatts of power.
What are you driving? Are you driving a gas turbine, or are you driving a boiler? Are you heating a
boiler? So the fuel is being combusted to generate heat in a boiler that generates steam, and that steam is then pushed through a steam turbine.
Water, clean, clear, distilled water to provide for that steam turbine.
Well, there is a water process that will be required for.
So the water will be required to be distilled. We'll have to find a good system of pumping some distilled water into that.
Well, yes, sir. The water cleansing process is all integrated in part of the energy recovery facility, so it's all part of the system. So we use water for cooling, and obviously there's a closed loop system for the steam turbine.
Yes, I just wanted to know. That's what I always thought. It would be a steam turbine, putting it back the simple ways that we Caymanians can understand on vessels of steam turbines and steam-powered reciprocating engines for God knows how long. So in other words, going back to the steam turbine power generators.
Yes, we're rather than diesel, we're utilising waste as a fuel.
8 megawatts from it?
About 8.5 megawatts, yeah.
8.5 megawatts, right? Which the CUC has to guarantee the government, I believe, 120 or 130 megawatts. With those big buildings coming online on West Bay Road and from in town all the way up down to West Bay, we're looking at maybe going to 140 megawatts very shortly. Those are huge, that require huge chill water systems for cooling, and I'm sure you know as an engineer what those chill water systems require in power. So we're going to need a lot more power in a short while to power up those things as we go along and approach 100, 150,000 people or whatever it is. But I see that this will help. But I just wanted to know what you're going to use the gas for. And that's all I really wanted to know. The carbon business and all that, it's not of my interest at all.
Yes, sir.
We're going to have to get rid of, we have huge amounts of fresh air passing over here all the while. So we dispense it, whatever. We put out air pollution very, very quickly in this low-lying island. But anyway, that's for people to argue about them. For the next 50, 60 years, I won't be alive, of course. Anyhow, I just thought I'd ask that question to find out what would be the source of the power and what it would be doing. Thank you very much. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you for calling and listening as well. And I do recognize that, a couple of minutes, but when you talked about the methane gas and there's questions about some escaping and the fires, how will we address that?
Through the remediation plan of the landfill. So as the gentleman just said, I think we've seen significant improvements on the existing North Main. That's been generated through the implementation of a fully engineered cap. So including a geosynthetic liner, clay liner, a integration of a gas management system where, as I said, we're now flaring the methane, and yes, of course, it generates carbon dioxide, but it's much less of a greenhouse gas than methane is.
When you say flare, I mean setting on fire and burning it?
Oh, just a little flare with a little flare stack.
Should we use that for power?
Yeah, so ultimately that's the plan. Obviously, during, once, and we hope, the Regen project progresses, then the opportunity to complete and close the entirety of the Georgetown landfill, get it all piped up and remediated, and that gas then can either go into a specific gas engine, and we've modelled it could generate potentially about a megawatt in its own right, or can be piped into the energy recovery facility. And then just a final question: many of our more environmental sensitive, residents have shared any concern that this project could, as has happened in many jurisdictions, reduce the incentive for recycling in order to get the materials. Yeah, and I would, there are plenty of examples where energy from waste, where it's been developed as a standalone process, can have the ability to do that, and I would certainly acknowledge that. I think we have to acknowledge that we are an island nation, and the reason it's an integrated solid waste management system that includes all the aspects that I mentioned earlier in the show that provide the infrastructure to allow for a significant increase in recycling really provides the impetus for the government and DEH to push forward to push out into the community, both on a residential and commercial basis, to allow a significant increase in recycling where we are. The reality is we're never going to have the economies of scale to develop an aluminium smelter on the island, or so many of the recycling materials that are required to go into, for secondary processing and ultimate recycling, be it aluminium, steel, plastics, will have to be aggregated, baled, and exported and that's an established global market. But there is significant opportunity for us to do a lot more than is being undertaken at the moment. Right. And it's just about creating that balance. So, Regina, to you, Klaus, one of the final words?
Well, seeing as we're here really trying to promote the public consultation part of this process, my job is to try to encourage the public to come out and engage in the review of the environmental statement. And the first opportunity you have is this evening at the Harquail Theatre from 6 until 9, presentations beginning at 7. So please do check in with the various websites, the Regen website, the DOE website, the NCC website. You can find out how you can feedback to us on the documents. You can find the documents all there, as well as hard copies of the documents at the Government Admin Building, the Department of Environment offices on North Sound Road, the Boddentown and the Georgetown Public Libraries, District Administration on Cayman Brac, and the Gladys B. Howard National Trust House on Little Cayman house all of the documents that are under review right now, as well as we'll tell you how to find access to feedback forms to submit. So please do engage in the public consultation and provide us with your feedback on the environmental statement.
All right. Thanks very much for coming in. So first meeting to the public, Harquail Theatre, 6 p.m. and then presentation start at 7. All right, well, correct. Hopefully we have you guys back on, as we get more discussion publicly on the project. All right, so listeners, listen to our news and then join us right after. Stay tuned.
Thanks, Sterling.
Thank you all, man.
Thank you.
Fine.
From district to district, moving through the waters to Cayman Brac and Little Cayman. Your station, your voice. All things Cayman. One radio, many people. This is home.
Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman. Your voice, your choice.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
With your latest headlines, I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins. The Deputy Governor and Head of the Civil Service, Franz Manderson, announces the appointment of Tamara Ebanks as Chief Officer for the Ministry of Investment, Innovation and Social Development. In international news, there's been a dramatic rise in violence carried out by extremist Israeli settlers against Palestinian civilians in the occupied West Bank this year, with more than 100 incidents reported a month, according to the UN. It warns that some 400 people have been driven from their land since the start of 2022. Smashed cars and homes and shops set ablaze. Recent months have seen some of the worst ever scenes of settler violence in the occupied West Bank, with some turning deadly. Simone Biles broke a 90-year record by winning her 8th all-around title at the U.S. Gymnastics Championships. Her win comes less than a month after the 4-time Olympic champion returned to competition following a 2-year break to work on her mental health. The 26-year-old's floor routine earned a score of 15.400, giving her an all-around total of 118.450. These are your headlines. I'm Felicia Rankin-Solins.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice.
Local, regional, international. This is Headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom.
Today's biggest news.
Honey, did you get your Benzorama ticket yet?
Benzorama what?
The Lions Club Benzorama fundraiser. You could win a brand new Mercedes-Benz.
What? I have always wanted a Mercedes. What kind of Benz?
A brand new sparkling 2023 Mercedes-Benz GLA 200. Tickets are $25 for one, $3 for $65, or $5 for $100. And you're helping to support the many Lions Club of Grand Cayman causes.
Driving in my new Benz and feeling good about helping the community.
The Lions Club of Grand Cayman Benzorama Fundraiser. Your chance to win a 2023 Mercedes-Benz GLA 200. Benzorama fundraiser tickets are available from Lions Club members and various sales outlets. The Lions Club of Grand Cayman Benzorama Fundraiser supports numerous community initiatives, include site screening, Christmas deliveries, restoration, and social services.
From boat days to beach gatherings, leave the catering to Subway. Choose from small and large sandwich platters, double meat wrap platters, and top it off with optional cookie platters for dessert. Or ask about our Subway box to go with the option of 6-inch or foot-long sandwich, 1 cookie, and 1 bag of chips. For all occasions and celebrations, let Subway focus on the food so you can focus on the fun. Visit subway.ky for catering options. Subway. Eat fresh.
With the heat rising and temps flurrying, it's time to pull into Jose's Rubis, where you can buy 2 1-liter bottles of Aquafina water for only $3. Don't miss your chance to share the love during the Rubis Pure Summertimes 2 promotion. Each time you top up your tank with $25 of merchandise or from our 24-hour food mart or with your car's favorite fuel, you earn another stamp. Collect 6 stamps and you are entered to win $5,000 for you and $5,000 for someone you love. Don't forget to pick up tickets for the Lions Club Benzorama at Reflections, Hemp and Tobacco, Food for Less, and Jose's Rubis, now open 24 hours a day.
Now, more than ever, supporting your immune system is crucial to helping your body fight off illnesses like the common cold, the flu, and COVID-19. At ValueMed Pharmacy on Walkers Road and in Buttontown, we carry all the essential vitamins and minerals to help support your immune system and improve your overall health. Some of our top immunity support picks are vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc, elderberry, and quercetin, or the popular 7-in-1 immunity support. Our pharmacists are always on hand to help guide you and answer any questions. Visit ValueMed Pharmacy on Walkers Road or Buttontown. Live happy, live healthy with ValueMed Pharmacy.
From Saturday, August 26th through Saturday, September 2nd, Tomlinson Furniture is having a massive anniversary sale on everything in store.
Living room and bedroom set, outdoor furniture, dining and coffee tables, office desks and chairs, decor, mattresses, and more. All up to 50% off. See an item you like, save an additional 20% off the lowest sale price for savings up to 50% off store-wide. Register to win a $500 shopping spree with each purchase and receive a free gift with each purchase over $100. Shop and save up to 50% store-wide during Tomlinson Furniture's 48th anniversary sale. Sale ends this Saturday. Visit our showroom on the 1st and 2nd floor of the Tomlinson Building, corner of Hospital and Walkers Road.
Looking to grow your business? We got this. Yellow Media Group has a proven track record for successfully marketing over 10,000 businesses on the web, expanding our customers' reach and providing measurable results. With the Caribbean's largest team of certified digital consultants, we handle everything from website development to search engine marketing and much more. So don't worry, we got this. For a free consultation, contact Lee Hipkins at 936-1981.
Hey, we got to have love now.
Friends of Ja Mitch come out to support a special live music fundraiser at the Hartwell Theatre Saturday, September 2nd from 7 to 11 p.m. Free admission for all, but donations welcome to support the recovery efforts for one of Cayman's legacy musicians, Ja Mitch. Performances by Swanky, 5th Division, Heat, Sugar Daddy, and the J.R. Douglas Band. Proudly sponsored by the Caymanian Times, Young Blood Productions, CNCF, Love Culture, Reflections, and Radio Cayman. The Friends of Ja Mitch live music fundraiser at the Hartwell Theatre. Free admission Saturday, September 2nd from 7 to 11 p.m.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waging to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Welcome back and thanks for sharing with us. Some open line for the remainder of the show. Let's hear from you directly about anything that you want to talk about. A quick reminder though, that for the Regen project, if you want to know what the government and the private sector partners are planning in relation to this redevelopment of the Georgetown landfill, well, 6 p.m. tonight at the Hartwell Theatre. They share that the presentations will start at 7. It goes until 9 p.m. And the idea is to spend the first hour looking at the different boards that are up to get a perspective on information and then maybe be able to ask much more informed questions. Then tomorrow evening at the John Gray Memorial Church in West Bay, what we used to call the West Bay United Church, right there by the 4-Bay. As at 5 p.m. with presentations at 6, and then the following evening at the Mayor Miller Hall, very aptly for a very, very wonderful lady. That's at 6 p.m. So it's open line now though, 949. Well, Mr. Carl, what numbers do I tell him to call? What numbers are working? All right, 949-8037. 949-6990. All right, why don't you join me on there and let them hear your voice? Because they might remember the numbers easier. You tell us what numbers to call. How about that?
949-8037. At 949-6990.
Do the voice that you do for the when we have the classical interludes.
Classical interlude?
Or you don't want people to know that that's you?
No, that's not me.
Can you imitate that voice then?
No, not really.
It's a man of many talents. No, thank you. And of course, as he reminds us, the WhatsApp is there. You can call it. You can message. It's 925-3261. It's Monday, and I must share that some days for some of us, we leave our desk on Friday, and even though we're not official at work, we come back to our desk, especially those of us who have that ability to access our work material anywhere. And then there's Monday. And for some, there isn't any sort of break between the two. I say that to ask. I had a presentation a couple of weeks ago, and I was supposed to continue as a second part on Wednesday, and wasn't able to. So the team that attended gave me sort of a bird's eye perspective of some of the information shared. And we're talking about this whole idea of working smartly and working more efficiently and effectively, making your work matter, and a term that has often perhaps been overused, this work-life balance. I may share more about what was that, but let's take this call. Welcome. Thank you for sharing.
Sterling.
How are you?
My mouth is full of coconut.
Oh, man, and I'm gotten a taste for coconut myself, so I gotta have to make a plan to get some.
Definitely.
Now, you just got fresh Huck's coconut, or you made it into coconut candy?
No, I'm here by the market.
Oh, yeah.
coconut water and coconut meat.
Yeah, boy, I like the cream myself.
Delicious. Yeah, delicious. So you cut in one mouthful.
Yes.
I'm swallowing it whole.
No, man. Well, I tell you what, you take your time with it, and then you can join us when you're ready. But it's
No.
No.
Yeah, not right now.
You're not. No, we're not gonna go away. So when you're ready, enjoy that coconut. Nothing better.
I'm ready.
All right. And it's good to see that you have a little time to enjoy yourself a bit. Coconut is always good to have.
Oh, definitely. Can pull you up to when you're hungry and you know you want to eat.
Yeah. Goes on smoothly.
Yeah. So, you doing okay?
I am. Thank God. I am indeed, man.
That's great.
And you?
Not too bad. I'm having a kind of good day so far. It's Monday and the third day of school. You can actually say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's gonna get better. Mm-hmm. Yep.
It is. It will be.
Yes. Earlier, I was here at several different locations throughout the island, and I see where Cable Wireless, I call it Cable Wireless, still have their old telephone booths throughout the island here and there, and has not been picked up. They know there's no phone in there. They can't work or anything. And I'm just wondering, how come they could still be a sore eye to everybody?
Yeah.
And we have changed the name 1 million times for Cable and Wireless to what it is now,
Mm-hmm.
So, also, so you see, it's changing at the shorter poles and putting up taller poles for a lot of reasons. And my understanding was when they came in my neighborhood that they was going to take the old ones down. They're waiting on, I'm going to say, I guess I'll say Flow now, which is Cable and Wireless still far as I'm concerned, and say that Flow needs to come and take their wires off of the poles. And that just doesn't seem to be happening, Sterling, because it's going on practically throughout the whole island. These poles are still up there, these old poles and shorter poles, and CUC gone to longer poles.
Mm-hmm.
Their excuse is that they're waiting on Flow to move their wires off of these poles. And CUC have even got to the point now that they're even cutting the pole not quite halfway down, but in some places, I guess to make you know that they're not really using them to that degree. It is just this flow line that is hanging on their poles still.
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes to beautification for the island, all we focus on is this 7-mile stretch. And this 7-mile stretch, you can't even see the beach in the fucker when you get to West Bay on what's that road called?
Northwest Point Road.
Northwest Point. That's the popular beach now, my dear. That's going to be a popular beach. Yes, which is nothing wrong with it. But Sterling, when I drive to this island and see the cars at these garage that they have called garage, that people working on cars and haul them up there, the pub was not working or waiting for a part, whatever the case may be. They're using a sidewalk, which is made from cement, and they got cars parked up on them, which I don't think is really fair. I don't know who's in charge of all of this, Sterling, because when you call the name government, it seems like it's a crime instantly,
Mm-hmm.
And when it's going to be a stop, enough is enough of these vehicles on the island, what is movable and what is not movable. And there's so many little pop-up car dealers throughout the island.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we got to get rid of some to have space for some. You understand?
Mm-hmm.
You just can't keep piling them up. Wasn't there? I'm selling, what do we call it now? Crushing them and selling them out somewhere some years ago. Was it Cuba? You remember?
The cars and the like?
Yeah, the cars and the like. Was it Cuba that were taking these
I didn't think it was
cars on a barge? They take them up somewhere some years ago, but I think COVID came and messed up everything to a degree.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't remember where. I didn't think it was Cuba, but I don't remember where.
They were taking them somewhere up on and these barges were crushing them up, and they were taking them out somewhere. Where the place was now, I don't even know. I thought it was Cuba. I thought I heard the word Cuba, but I could be wrong. I'm willing to take my wrong.
Yeah, well, I'm unfortunately not as confident to say where it is either. So.
Yes, and something needs to be done. And we all cry about all the buildings, but we're not looking at as much as the vehicles that is parked up here and there that is not no more, not usable no more. And these garage that has them, they're using the sidewalks to park them, and it's not really fair. It's not fair, period.
Mm-hmm.
And the Friday show they witnessed Connor. I heard a lot of people going on there discussing a lot of things that I've been trying to talk to on your station, and probably Mr. Corner show at some point in time, and I'm hoping that something will be done now. And I heard Mr. Brian say that he was going to get in touch with I'm not saying him. They were going to get in touch with all these landscapers and have a meeting with what's happening out here with these guys toting all of their stuff when they cut someone's yard and taking it, let it blow off on the road, or just staying in the lady's yard, person's yard, and blowing it over into my yard. I noticed that when someone takes a water heater out of somebody's house or an air conditioner, just takes it and put it by the side of the road. And I know whoever that person was paid to put that in. I'm quite sure they did it with understanding. They were going to take it to where it has to go to the dump or wherever the location is for these things to be going to. But just go and take them out and put them on the side of the road, and that's not right. Sterling, we need to get a serious grip on this island, because I say less than 10 years, you can look at your garbage dump. And you're all here.
I really appreciate you sharing that, because I think as I listened to you, a couple of people messaging and someone sent a picture. I think I recognized the road. I just messaged back. Some mattress, the individual messaging saying this has been there for weeks now. Someone just tossed a mattress, on the side of the road. I don't understand that. I
don't understand it neither. And Sterling down on Eastern Avenue, last week their garbage was out of control. And they picked that up and said the same day or very next morning. And you should see what's accumulating there now since last week. This once a week garbage collection got to go. And I don't know what's going to take for the government to see that it needs to pick up more than one time per week. Sterling, we got MPs, and I'm going to say this, and I don't care who like it. They've been trying to fix the road in Newlands on Devonshire. Came in, put a drain in. Every time a car goes over it, there's this big old clicking sound out there from the drain, because the piece of partless in the hole, the cover, must be too big or something. The road hasn't been fixed yet. And it's been over a year now. Those guys came in there, and they cannot come back and fix that road. And it's still flooding. All this rain that we had, it needs one more drain and another sleeping policeman on the road. And imagine the premier and MP he is from Newlands. You would think that we would be driving on a road of gold, not even silver, gold and platinum. But you know what? What your heart don't leap and your eyes don't see, it doesn't bother you. And it is sad.
Well, I maybe, the priority is elsewhere, but maybe he might share that if he fixed the road, then he'd be accused of, taking care of his own. So sometimes there's no win.
Sterling, don't even go there.
All right. Okay. What else you want to share?
Sterling, I'll just leave you at that for now, and hopefully tomorrow will be a better day for all of us. And I'll get a surprise one day when I drive into Newlands to see one more Steve up, one in the drain fixed and the road capped off, and everybody's happily ever after, sleeping comfortable when night come to these idiots. So we go down there flying and carrying on. We not got no sign saying the miles that we got to drive down in there. We got no sign saying no parking on the streets. We ain't got nothing to this island properly can say. I don't know what they're doing. They're sleeping, or they just don't care. I want to know what is the big deal of bringing investors to this island, and they're going to invest in certain locations So, that mean that one day their visitors or their guests not going to drive to the swamp or to Mary Street or Newland? Excuse me, when they're ready in Nosy and they get a rental, they are all over the island. And if we think that we are not being watched on the internet with everything happening here in Cayman, we are all making a sad mistake. My people in the States can call and tell me things happening here in the Cayman Islands that I don't even know. I'm like, really? And I found my visitors that I dealt with from the airport on the cruise ship. I'll leave you at that so someone else can call in, Sterling.
Well, thank you. Always a pleasure to hear you. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye-bye.
All right. Final break. When we come back, you may be the caller. 949-6990. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
You know, as a little girl, I dreamt of traveling to faraway places and foreign lands. I tell you what though, no more dreaming. This summer, I'm going flying with Cayman Airways. How blessed are we in the Cayman Islands to have a very own national airline? Girl, you can fly to so many international destinations without the hassle of connecting flights. On top of Jamaica, Cuba, and Honduras, you got non-stop flights from Cayman to New York, Miami, Tampa, and even Denver, Los Angeles, and now Panama. Going to be a little cafe con leche and Hollywood Squares for this old gal this summer.
Make your travel dreams come true with Cayman Airways, offering non-stop flights for non-stop adventures in Panama, LA, and many more places in between. For details and to book, call 949-2311, contact a travel agent, or visit CaymanAirways.com.
Freedom, Cayman Brac. Freedom, Little Cayman. Soft breezes, blue waters, no traffic. Unwind and rejuvenate your mind, body, and soul. Sister Island Staycations, a taste of freedom. Discover all that our sister islands have to offer.
At Doctors Hospital, we know life happens, and usually when you least expect it. So when unexpected medical issues arise, you need quality care close to home. Located in the heart of Georgetown, our accomplished team of physicians and medical staff treat minor urgent conditions such as migraines, chest and abdominal pain, shortness of breath, burns, broken bones, open wounds, and more. 24 hours, 7 days a week with no appointment necessary. Peace of mind is important when life happens. At Doctors Hospital, we're always here just for you. Need to speak to someone? Call 949-6066.
All aboard the Pizza Boat! Cayman's newest pizzeria. Birthday parties, office luncheons, summer camps, game night. Whatever your occasion, bring the fun with Pizza Boat and Cayman Twist to Pizza. Bringing fusion ingredients from all over the globe to give you locally inspired fresh pizzas all day, every day. What's more, now you can enjoy a boat-shaped pizza with toppings of your choice. It's Pizza Boat. Pizza Boat, now open in Queens Court on West Bay Road. Pick up or delivery 949-0000 or order online www.pizzaboat.ky. Pizza Boat. Experience the ultimate pizza voyage.
Christian Enlightenment Center in our new location on the waterfront is celebrating 46 years. Can you believe it? 46 years. For the rest of this month, we're offering a 15% discount store-wide. Yes, everything is 15% off at the Christian Enlightenment Center. School supplies, Sunday school materials, Bibles, journals, everything 15% off. We're open Monday through Saturday, 9 to 6 at the new location on North Church Street beside the Burger King on the waterfront in Georgetown. 945-1252. Christian Enlightenment Center. Gifts for life.
From big to better. Big Brothers Big Sisters of the Cayman Islands is now 1-to-1. We may have a fresh new name and look, but we're as dedicated as ever to developing transformative connections between mentors and young people here in Cayman. We're set to ignite futures and encourage personal growth while creating lasting impacts. Join us on this exciting journey and get involved with 1-to-1 today. Go to 1to1.ky to learn more. 1-to-1 is proudly sponsored by Radio Cayman. 1-to-1, empowering youth, igniting futures.
Talk today.
but I do have some questions.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program. Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Let's take this call. Thank you for calling. Welcome.
Good afternoon, Mr. Sterling.
Hey, how are you, my friend? How are you?
Boy, it's good to hear your voice. It's good to know that through this avenue, good things can happen. You know, good things. I'm also a follower of people like Rihanna, Beyonce, Taylor Swift, and of course our local artists. I learned a lot. I learned a lot from Mr. Lame, Mr. Lambert Seymour. I bought his Cadillac, as a matter of fact, the silver Cadillac that he had. And boy, that disappeared. You can't even get a Cadillac these days, at least with the chrome bumpers. Yeah, I bought this Cadillac when I was younger. I used to like to go to the studio and sing and believe that I can sing. But I recorded some stuff. But anyway, if I'm not into politics, but if I were, and I'm sure one day something good will happen. But if I were into politics, I would give, when it concerns the status now, of course, make some good singers for status right away. Right away, right in the Cayman Islands, boy, and then they chill out and move around and enjoy themselves with Caymanians and have a wonderful time, local and foreign, global. That's a good image, and it's it would be good for Cayman. But like I say, I'm not into politics. But if I were, I would do that. I would give a couple good famous singers a status. Give them a stay right in Cayman. I say sometimes I tell the tourists, tell the people that I say you could stay here as long as you want. We'll do that then. But anyway, like I said, following people like they make a lot of money, and it's a lot, and I'm sure Beyonce and her group is doing some good things for the homeless too, and a lot of singers, they do a lot of good things for the homeless and sick people. They do good things. I think I heard something like Beyonce and her group is doing building some place for I think some homeless people or something like that. Some place for them to stay and all that sort of stuff. And I'm sure that it would be a good thing, making a good connection between Caymanian.
Yeah. Well, you remember years ago, right? A lot of the country singers out of Nashville, connected to the then Treasure Island Resort, they would have that show, Nashville Live or Nashville Now or whatever was broadcast live on the south side of the building, if you recall.
Yeah, Jazz Fest and all that sort of stuff and all that. Man, I'm telling you, man, a lot of good things happen in Cayman,
Yes, got it, yeah, man.
Yeah, man, and making that by Caymanian artists working alongside these famous artists, it immediately brings up the dollar for the Caymanian artists.
Yeah, man, it's benefits all, I don't want to be too rushed, but we are at that cut-off time for the show. Anything else you want to quickly share? Yeah, but what I'm saying is also is that the Caymanian singers and artists and stuff like that, I'm sure they care about the community, and they would also say, okay, well, we're making some good money. Let's put something here and there and clean up the litter, and I'm sure. I mean, if me myself, if I were making certain types of dollars, I would pay to clean the street. Certain because something wrong. Obviously, I mean the garbage is all over the place. I mean,
if I would like to be that generous that I could say, well, okay, well, guess what? There's some spots over there. There's some spots there. You know, no showing off. I mean, just reality. You know, just giving someone a job, creating employment.
Yeah, man.
You know, and stuff like that as a Caymanian. You know, working with the foreign group. You know, because we gotta work together. You know.
That's the thing, man. We need to unite. That's why I appreciate you championing. You know, the music industry in particular. Hey, thanks very much. All right.
All right, my brother.
You enjoy it, my friend. Enjoy it. All right, take care. And as the caller reminds us, we can accomplish more working together instead of working against each other. So let's unite. Share quickly a comment from one of our listeners via the WhatsApp. It says, the writer says, I understand the need for beautification of the islands. I'm always incensed by the people who take their bags of garbage from their homes and throw it along the roadside. But it says, however, I'm very fascinated by the old phone booths, and I use them when I drive by to educate the younger ones about its previous use. And oftentimes, they have loads of questions. And finally, when I visit the UK, I see people line up to go and take pictures in the big red old phone booths. So maybe we can find some creative ways to utilize these relics. Sometimes, it's out with the old and in with the new, but as that, writer shared, maybe there are ways that we could use them. A friend of mine took a picture of some, millennials standing around phone booths and said, look, they're out exploring prehistoric relics. Well, part of the reason maybe why we don't appreciate what we have is that we don't know where we came from. We can't, look at the things and understand what it took to get where we are. And to that last caller, maybe that's part of the challenge. We're not working together. We have little or no value, respect, appreciation for ourselves, much less each other. So let's find a way to work, hands and hearts joined to moving us in a positive direction. Tomorrow, we have, a lot going on. And invite you to share with us. Honorable W. McKeever Bush has reached out, and we'll have him as our guest for the first part of the program. Looking forward to that discussion. We're going to be talking about some of the motions he brought to the house, and as the grandfather of the house, he shares a lot of experiences. Well, please enjoy the rest of this afternoon. Please continue to be not just civil and law-abiding, but very cognizant of what's transpiring in the society, with a view to offering up your hand, your heart, your time, your talent, and treasure to help others in a better position. Until tomorrow, stay highly favored.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration.